Welcome to Elite Sports Take. I'm your host, Brandon BT Taylor. And yeah, this is your sports show here on the main event hub. Um, I want to kick things off to the fallout from UFC 329 Holloway versus McGregor 2. There's three major takeaways from that event this past Saturday. Number one, the days of Conor McGregor as this must see star has died. That's over. There's only so many comebacks you can get before people are just done. The way he started that fight, I don't know if you can call it a fight, was one of the dumbest things I've seen in my years of watching the UFC. And I've been watching since 2012. So fucking dumb. To jump for a kick that far away and then blow out your ACL. Insane. And if you're a fan that was there, you should feel rightfully so that you felt you got robbed of your money. Now, I don't buy the he came into that fight injured. I don't think he came into that fight injured at all. I think he just had one of the dumbest game plans that we'll ever see. It goes up there with Ben Askren going for an immediate takedown as soon as Masvidal went for a knee. Like, that was well scouted by Masvidal. It was a terrible game plan by Askren. If he just didn't go for the takedown, he just cut out of the way. He takes him down and probably beats the shit out of Masvidal that fight. Conor's game plan into that fight was so stupid, and his coach is doubling down, being like, well, practice that. That was always the plan. Don't admit that. Why are you admitting that? That just shows how inept you are as a coach. That was even in the realm of possibilities of how you start that fight. Insane. It's going to be another surgery for Conor. We assume it's ACL. The hope is probably MCL. By some people, I think it's probably going to be ACL. So you're looking at potentially a year recovery. At that point, he's going to be, what, 38 years old? But this didn't really count as a fight, in my opinion. So really going back, you're going now 6 years, 7 years. What, 2021 was the last time he actually had a legit fight. It'll be the final fight of his UFC deal before he goes and gets his head knocked off by Jake Paul. Like, I don't get the thought process here for Conor in that fight. And then from Holloway, no offense, my guy. Don't don't be begging for the third fight. They're not, for starters, they're not gonna make it. I don't see them turn around doing Holloway McGregor 3. I think it's more likely you get, and I don't think they're gonna do Poirier McGregor 3. I think Dustin Poirier needs to shut the fuck up at this point. You can't be throwing stones at anyone based off the video that came out a few weeks ago. Like, focus on yourself, buddy. You can't be saying shit. But for Conor, I really, if you're the UFC, for starters, you're the UFC, you're not renewing that contract. He's not worth the money anymore. He's not. He's barely fought he's barely fought since he beat Eddie Alvarez. And that is almost 10 years ago now. Barely fought. You're not, he's gonna want more money for another go around, especially with you have no more pay-per-view points. So it's gonna be more of a guarantee. Kind of the stick up that you had with Ronda. When rightfully so, Ronda was not worth a potential guarantee purse to make up for loss of pay-per-view points. Don't blame him. Conor isn't either. And I'm a fan of McGregor. Don't agree with majority of the out of octagon choices he has made in the last 10 years, but I don't diminish his star power or his star power back in the day. I don't diminish what oops, someone just fell. I don't diminish what he accomplished back in the day. He's the reason you got all these guys going for double champions now. He's the reason it went from kind of a niche fan base to something where it's more worldwide. Granted, probably not as popular in the US as it should be, but like he's important. He'll go into the UFC Hall of Fame, first ballot, this, that, and the other. Is he top 10 all time? No. Is he top 15 all time? I think so. He's definitely top 20. Like he's important to the history of the UFC and important to the history of MMA. But there comes a time, and I can't even say Father Time's undefeated here because I think his shit is all self inflicted. It's not Father Time. It's not that he's old. Like, yeah, 37's old in fight years, I guess. I mean, the amount of late 40, early 40s, late 30-year-old champions we have seen kind of tells you, like, it's not that old still. I mean, Dan Harrison went till he was like, what, 50 almost? So his shit is not, well, you know what? Father Time's undefeated. Father Time got him. The Father Time gets every, except Tom Brady. Father Time gets everyone. This isn't a Father Time thing here. This is a, he made the bag against Mayweather, and then he just continued to make wrong choice after wrong choice after wrong choice. Post Mayweather, came back, fought Habib. Granted, he won a round against Habib and probably looked the best out of anyone ever did against Habib as a coked out McGregor. Got his ass whooped. Disappeared for a few years. Fought Cowboy Cerrone, who clear as day was at the end of the line. Tomato can at that point. Beats Donald. Then, because of the pandemic, UFC not wanting to have him fight without a crowd. He's put on ice for a year. Fights Poirier. He's fight. Poirier fucks him up. Rematches Poirier later in the year. Breaks his leg. Disappears for 5 years. Continues to make shit choice after shit choice during that time frame. At some point, all the drugs you're doing, the leg break, the alcohol, all comes back to bite you at some point. You can still, just like with Floyd, you can still, you put Conor McGregor on a, say, Conor leaves, Conor goes and box. People pay attention, people be interested. Conor still has that name cachet. Floyd still has that name cachet. Floyd fought today. You shouldn't be expected much. That's all McGregor is at this point. McGregor's just a name. He's a name. That's all it is. You should not be expecting him to be world champion again. He's not going to recapture that magic ever again. He's never going to be a champion in mixed martial arts ever again. His future after the UFC is most likely a 1 or 2 fights in boxing, and then probably 1 or 2 fights in bare knuckle boxing. And that's probably it. Maybe he just does bare knuckle boxing for the rest of his life. Who knows? I think his MMA career, if I was him, I would consider this as a retirement. No, he's probably not going to go out this way, but there's probably a better way than going out than getting your shit caved in. I just, he should be, his family should sit him down and pretty much tell him, you have the money. You're a part owner in one of the rising sports companies in the world in bare knuckle fighting championship. you're good. You don't need to keep doing this. And if he goes to box, okay, fine, go box. I don't know why you have the appetite to fight Jake Paul at this point. You'd be the A side, not Jake Paul. Shouldn't be fighting Logan either. If you're gonna box, and if you're fighting Manny or Floyd, fine, like someone your size. If you're fighting Jake Paul or Logan Paul or KSI or Tommy Theory, there's no logic in that. All you're doing is if you lose, you look worse than you did before. You just step away at this point. I don't see the benefit of Connor continuing to fight. I don't see the benefit for Connor to continue to fight. Yeah, he wants the competitive fire. A lot of people like competitive fire. I get it. There's some people that struggle post career. Dustin Poirier is one. Tito Ortiz was one. Chuck Liddell, Matt Hamill, Mark Kerr. Like you can keep going. Not even Mark Kerr. Take that one back. But like, there's plenty of guys who have struggled post fighting. But a lot of the people who struggle post fighting do not have the resources you have. Utilize it. It makes no sense why to keep going. Go be an owner. Go be the figurehead of your whiskey company or formerly whiskey company. Go do something. Go enjoy life. Go raise your kids. You don't need to be fighting anymore. That's the Connor take. The next takeaway from this, Paddy Pimblett turned around after what was a terrible performance against Justin Gaethje to kick off the year. And many argue that was one of Gaethje's worst performances of the year. Grant still pretty sure got fight of the night, some shit. But turn around and absolutely demolished Benoit here. Wasn't even close. Granted, it's a dumb decision by I want to try and take it to the ground, but for Paddy, it was just pure domination. And this was a night where you can make the argument the like fan favorite for the casuals has gone from Connor to Paddy. You can make that argument. Granted, I don't do Paddy versus Justin next. I think Paddy's going to need another win because you're not rushing back into that title fight. You're just not. I think it's either Armin or Charles next for Paddy. I would go Charles, let Justin and Armin fight. Just get that one out of the way, get Armin's title fight out of the way. He's earned it. Granted, I get why they haven't given it to him. He's done a lot of stupid ass shit. But just give him the title fight because you look stupid at this point by keep passing him over. And then the third takeaway from this event is the fall of Cody Garbrandt. Nope, like Cody Garbrandt's a fourth takeaway. The third is Gable Steveson. There's potential there. There is potential there with them. Do I think he can be UFC heavyweight champion? I want to see him against a higher quality opponent, not a tomato can that we're probably never going to see again. But with Gable, you'd think his Olympic wrestling style background, he'd win this on the ground stuff. He won it standing up. He's decent standing up. And he's only going to get better, especially with John as one of his coaches. He's just going to get better. His ground game is there. He's one of the best wrestlers alive today. Of all the wrestlers walking God's green earth today, Gable Steveson is easily a top 3 to 5 wrestler in the world today. The ground game is there. If he can really perfect standing up and he can get that going, it's hard to sit there and say, you know what, there's a weakness on this guy. I want to see him against a higher quality opponent. I see Jamal Hill, who's jumping up to heavyweight, being thrown around as a name potentially for him. I don't know if I go that quickly for him yet. I'd rather Jamal Hill fight a top 15 guy, and I'd rather Gable fight someone in that, like, they're not close to the top 15, but they're not like out of like the top 25 heavyweights. He should fight a top 25 heavyweight next, in my opinion. Where do you do that? I think with Gable, it's MSG next for him. I think you hold him off till November. Gable Stevenson, Madison Square Garden, just makes sense. They're going to probably stack the MSG card up for the first time with Paramount. And yeah, and then what I hit to earlier, the other takeaway from this event is Cody Garbrandt, the fall of Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt, if you ask someone 10 years ago when Cody Garbrandt dominated Dominic Cruz to win the Bantamweight Championship, if you would have told someone 10 years ago after Cody Garbrandt won the UFC Bantamweight Championship, he would have gone 4-8 since winning that, they would have told you you're insane. He'd probably have a trilogy with TJ Dillashaw. They go 2-1-1 and the trilogy or this, that, and the other. And then he'll just clean up other guys. No. His fall has been it's insane. He had all the promise in the world. He got over emotional in a fight against TJ Dillashaw. And Dillashaw turned around and knocked him out. Granted, you can there's probably some controversy around it with TJ Dillashaw because of the EPO. We don't know if he was on it or not for that. So, yeah, there's that. But then you have losses to Pedro Munoz. Knockout to Pedro Munoz. First round. Well, TKO. Lost to Rob Font. Got knocked out by Kai Kara France. Lost to Figueiredo. Lost to Barcelos. Barcelos, people don't know, he's a bantamweight fighter currently in the UFC. So he lost to him. He went to a decision against Zhao Long. And it's like, and then he fights Jans this past week and he gets TKO'd again. Took his glove off, he's probably retiring. He is 35 years old. I don't think any MMA fan, after he dominated Dominic Cruz, would have thought he would go 4-8 since then. He's a guy where, in my opinion, I think he should have stayed at flyweight. I don't think he should have tried and gone up to bantamweight. Maybe try someone at flyweight. Fought Kai Kara France. Cool, you got knocked out. Kai France is one of the best flyweights in the world when he's active. Like, now, he should be retiring. He's going to go down as one of the biggest one-hit wonders in the history of the UFC and in May. It's just the fall of Cody Garbrandt is fascinating still to this day. He's a one-dimensional fighter. that never adapted. And as soon as one guy figured him out, granted, he was on EPO, he never adapted, never changed things up. Yeah, oh, he changed training camps. Doesn't matter when you're fighting the same way your whole career and you're too stubborn to really fix the holes in your game. And Luke Rockhold at the end fell into this trap because Bisping showed there was a weakness in Luke Rockhold's game. And after that, everyone saw that same hole. And what happened? Luke Rockhold kept getting knocked the fuck out. Cody Garbrandt, holes in his game, never really fixed it up. Always fought too wild and emotionally and ended up costing him. Insane. Another thing on what we were at All-Star break for the Major League, MLB. Home Run Derby last night. So the format to me, I think is an electric ending, but I think the ending of that event overrates how the actual Home Run Derby was. I don't think, for starters, I'm fine with no timer. I'm perfectly fine with no timer in the Home Run Derby. I didn't like the timer to begin with. I missed the 10 out system where you get 10 outs. That's it. You keep going until you get the 10 outs. I thought that was perfect. I would bring that back for a first round and maybe semifinals and finals. You can go to the number of swings you get just to speed up a bit. But this, like, you had guys hitting 4 home runs, 5 home runs, and that was it. That's not exciting. That's not exciting at all. And thank God this shit was on Netflix because you could not justify to anyone on free TV that if this was on free TV, I don't think people are sitting there saying this was one of the greatest home run derbies ever. Granted, once again, I think the only reason people are saying this is one of the greatest home run derbies ever is because of how it ended. Jordan Walker, 1 out to go, has to hit 4 home runs to win it, 4 home runs to win it, and he gets it. The ending was amazing, but this was not a good home run derby. Amazing end, not a good derby. You have the All-Star game tonight. Besides Sonny Gray, I don't really look at anyone like in years past and I'm like, that's a major snub. He should have been in. There's no one. We don't got that this year. And I think that's a good thing. I'm always against the every team needs a representative. Sometimes you just don't have an all-star caliber player. It is what it is. I think the NBA and NFL to a degree when it comes to all-star selections. Granted, NFL's is way too fan-friendly. Same to the NBA to a degree. But they kind of get it right. Not every team deserves an all-star. They just don't. Not every team deserves an all-star. Not every team deserves representation. And that's fine. You get better. No one's going to sit there, watch the all-star game, and see fucking name a random ass player ever, random name, Dan Lee for the Colorado Rockies, and be like, wow, I want to be a Rockies fan. That's not happening. That's not happening. Dan Lee, relief pitcher for the Colorado Rockies, is not going to make someone a Colorado Rockies fan. Not every team needs representation. Granted, I'm fine with selections this year. I don't hate them. I don't mind Dylan Cease starting the All-Star game. I want people to acknowledge that the only reason Cam Schlittler is not playing in this is because he wasn't named the starter. It has nothing to do with warming up or getting rest for the stretch of the season, playoff push for the Yankees. It has nothing to do with that. If he was told, hey, you're going to start the All-Star game, he would have played. The only reason he is sitting out is because he's not getting his way. Bitch behavior right there. Entitlement behavior by Cam Schlittler. who at one point you can make the argument he was probably the favorite for the AL Cy Young. That's dipped. That's gone. Is he up there as one of the probably like 3, 5 guys that's up for the Cy Young? Yeah, I still think he is, but he's not the favorite anymore. He's not. So that's the only reason he is not playing this All-Star game. People need to acknowledge that and stop being like, well, he's a great team player. He's trying to get us ready for Yankees fans, trying to get ready for the playoff push. He's not. Has nothing to do with that. That's the cover up. If he was, notice it did not come out that he was not going to play until it became clear and announced that Dylan Cease was going to start the All-Star game. Give me a fucking break. He's not playing because he's not the starter. That is the only reason he's not playing. That's fine. That's fine. Grant, I think it's kind of bitch behavior right there. But it's the All Star game. Once again, who really gives a shit about the All Star game? But be honest about it. You feel slighted. You don't want to play. That's more acceptable than being like, well, you know what? Rest for the playoff push. Has nothing to do with the playoff push. Be honest. You fraud. Be honest. So that's the NBA All-Star break right now. Um, NFL training camp starting in a few weeks. I actually have an issue with something here. Chris Sims did the best players in their prime. I think it was the best quarterbacks in their prime in history. So I'll go 1 to 10 here. This was his 10. Number 1, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's prime, I agree, is one of the best primes in history. Is one of the best primes in the history of the NFL. Granted, some of his MVPs were not deserved. His first one, the one where it should have went to Drew Brees, the one where it should have went to Kurt Warner. I think it was 08, 09. Those two should not have gone to him. But Peyton Manning, hell of a prime. Yeah, hell of a prime. Granted, he might have been on some shit, but hell of a prime. If you want to argue him 1 for primes, I don't agree with it, but you can make the argument he had the best prime. Maybe not the best career, but he had the best prime. Patrick Mahomes, 2. No. I don't think Patrick Mahomes had a top 2 prime of any quarterback in their career. I just don't. But to each of their own. Aaron Rodgers, 3. He underachieved too much. Well, he got the MVPs. Okay, cool. He underachieved a lot of those Packer games that people blame everyone else for. Some of it's on him. That Seattle NFC Championship game, I know a lot of people point to Brandon Bostic here. That defense kept them in that game. Russell Wilson was ass that game. And so was Aaron Rodgers. The coach showed up. The coach coached. Mike McCarthy coached a great game that game. The defense was solid. But because Brandon Bostic did a dumb play on an onside kick, it negates that Aaron Rodgers was ass cheeks for most of that game. It excuses that Aaron Rodgers didn't show up when his team actually needed. They stopped Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was not good that game. And Aaron Rodgers didn't show up. But he gets the excuse. He is one of the most excused quarterbacks in the history of this game. Granted, not anymore because of his political views. So a lot of people have jumped off the Aaron Rodgers bandwagon here. But no, let's not have revision history. For the media sense, Aaron Rodgers was the most excused quarterback of my lifetime. Number 4, John Elway. I'm not going to really disagree. Brett Favre, 5. Okay, whatever. Josh Allen, 6. Might be noticing a name that has not been listed yet. Josh Allen, 6. Little fucking extreme. Lamar Jackson, 7. Really fucking extreme. Dan Marino, 8. Tom Brady, 9. Roger Staubach, 10. What did Tom Brady do to Chris Sims? The only person you can make a legit argument that had a better prime than Tom Brady may have been Peyton Manning. That's because the MVPs and the stats. The shows how wasn't winning, but the stats he had. Tom Brady had the best prime of his career. You can make the argument Tom Brady's prime lasted almost 15 years. He didn't retire because he sucked. People forget that. He was still one of the top quarterbacks in the league in his 40s. He probably should have won MVP the year Aaron Rodgers won his last one. Brady had the best prime in NFL history. Man, I'd go with two. Names aren't on here. Joe Montana's not on here. No Montana, no Drew Brees. I'd argue Drew Brees had a better prime than Josh Allen. At least Drew Brees won a Super Bowl. Josh Allen, they're literally changing the rule books for him, and he still can't get it done. And he has a controversial MVP. Lamar Jackson, same thing. No postseason success for Lamar Jackson. If you can't show up when the lights are the brightest, you don't belong in this list. Josh Allen shit the bed in Denver last year. Lamar Jackson shits the bed damn near every year in the postseason. And this year, there's no excuses for Lamar. John Harbaugh is gone. Now it's put up or shut up. The guy that's been holding you back, he's gone. He's gone now. John Harbaugh's in New York. Lamar. There's no excuse for Lamar this year. It's like there's no excuse for Josh Allen. Sean McDermott's gone. Your head coach hiring is embarrassing. At least the Ravens went with somewhat of a like, okay, maybe you can. I'm not a top tier head coaching candidate on the carousel, but he was someone that people would sit back and be like, okay, maybe, yeah, okay, justifiable, I guess. Joe Brady was not a justifiable hire. That was just to appease Josh Allen. There's no excuse for Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson this year, but I don't put him above Tom Brady for best prime. Drew Brees either. Dan Marino either. Although Dan Marino, maybe with Marino. My ranking would be Brady 1, Manning 2, Mahomes, I'd go 3, Rodgers, I'd go 4, Elway 5, Breeze 6, Favre 7. I'd go Lamar 8, Marino 9, Breeze 10. I'm not giving it to Josh Allen. You haven't you haven't done anything. You haven't done anything. You had the talent, you've had the weapons. You just lost the division in your prime. Granted, not everyone can be the New England Patriots and win the division every year for like 15 years in a row. Not everyone can be like the Chiefs at one point where they were just win the division every year in a row. But we go talent-wise. Talent-wise, you were the most talented team in the AFC East last year. Grant, I don't know if that's the case this season, but talent-wise, you were the best. You were the most talented team in the AFC East this past season. And I know people are gonna be like, "Well, what about his receiving core? Receiving core? Receiving core?" Josh Allen is a better quarterback when he doesn't have that diva wide receiver that only cares about getting his touches and that's it. Josh Allen, grant the best Josh Allen's ever looked as a quarterback was when Brian Daboll was his offensive coordinator. But when it comes to okay, uh, with Josh Allen, he's at his best when his favorite receiver is the open one, not when his favorite receiver is Stephon Diggs or insert random wide receiver that only cares about his touch. DeAndre Hopkins, I think he was out there or some shit. You know what I mean. Speaking of the NFL, I'll get to my NFL predictions when it's training camp season begins. But yeah, that list from Chris Sims was asinine, absolutely insane. Uh, World Cup. I will be honest. I stopped giving a shit about the World Cup even before the U.S. got eliminated. Like I vaguely check in and shit. It's I stopped watching when probably right before the group stage ended. It was fun buzz out here. The Scottish taking over Boston was fun. It's had its moments, but like I maybe it's just me, and because I just can't get into it. I just can't. The England Mexico game was the one game that I've watched where it was amazing. But for the most part, it's just maybe it's the American in me, or maybe I'm just not that interested in the sport of soccer. But I just I don't care at this point. I think there's too much corruption in too many of the well, they tried to rig it for America, or the I keep seeing this a lot with Argentina. They're calling the games one-sided and shit when you face Argentina because they want Messi in the final. And I don't put it past them because FIFA's a dirty ass corporation. They're dirty as fuck. So I'm maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I honestly, I don't think the soccer boom has been what people think it was going to be. Well, the games are getting 21 million. Okay. So what are the numbers going to be when the World Cup ends? What's the Champion League numbers going to be? The World Cup has always been a draw. The World Cup's a draw. Okay. What about your domestic league? Is the MLS magically going to gain 21 million subscribers on Apple TV Plus? No, they're not. And the key to growth for soccer in the United States is not the World Cup. It's not Team USA going on a run. It's the MLS. The MLS has to become competent. The MLS has to become competitive, interesting, you name it. It has to be something. And they butchered it. They had the biggest soccer star in the world. Still do Lionel Messi in their league, and he's hiding behind a paywall. That's gross. And that's why they haven't been able to grow. The MLS has not grown. And they're not going to until they get out of this Apple TV deal. And by that point, Lionel Messi is going to be gone. You're not going to have that cash cow, that recognizable name in the league anymore. You don't have that. You're not going to have that by the time you're out of this deal. So, with the MLS, the growth of soccer, and I mean wise, not going to play soccer, the popularity of soccer in the United States is dependent on its domestic league, not on the, well, let's see who wins the Champions League out in fucking England, not who wins the Arabian League out in Saudi Arabia. It's all based on the growth of the MLS because the MLS is practically irrelevant. Soccer in America is practically irrelevant. Some people aren't getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning to go and watch Premier League soccer. I bet it does decent numbers for what it's on in that time slot in the morning. I don't ignore it. But if you want soccer to be taken legitimately in the league, it starts with its domestic league. It starts with the MLS. As I'm recording, the Spain beat France 2-0, and Spain is going to the finals. I'm rooting for England tonight or tomorrow, whenever the hell they're playing Argentina. I think we're getting a Spain Argentina finals at the end of the day. But I am rooting for England. England's the one team left that I am rooting for, just for them to finally get it done. 'Cause I've seen Argentina win. No offense, Argentina's become a very unlikable team, and Spain's just there. I don't think anyone really hates Spain or not tolerating Spain or anything. But yeah. What else do we have here? I don't really think. I mean, I don't know what's really left here. Summer league is summer league in the NBA. It's really relevant. The NBA kind of like storm here is kind of on like hold. Anything like remotely interesting with the NBA is done until LeBron decides he signs, which at this point I don't think most people, besides the talking heads on ESPN, truly give a shit about at this point. I'll say it this way: if he's not back in Cleveland or he's not back in Miami, and his goal is to just ring hunt to finish his career, that's a stain on his legacy. If he goes to Golden State, this was not his era. This was Curry's era. Curry being able to recruit LeBron and Kevin Durant both to Golden State at one point in his career, his era. So yeah, that is that. Nothing really with the NBA right now. Training camp starts in about a week, 2 weeks. Yeah, about a week. Training camp starts. Yeah, and that's it. That is Elite Sports Take. I will be back next week, or if anything major breaks in sports. Ciao.